Welcome, everybody, and it is me, Cyber Warrior, and we are back for another amazing episode of What Security Happy Hour. So, as we get into it, it's going to be an amazing episode today, and we will introduce my partner in crime and our guest here shortly. But first, let's get into it. And welcome back, and it is again me, Cyber Warrior, and with me, as always, my partner in crime, my friend, and my comedic relief for the show, the one, the only, Eric Bellardo. Eric, how you doing today, buddy?
I gotta carry this all the time. I am so sad today because right now at Washington, D.C., ShmooCon is happening, and I am having major FOMO because I see everybody out there. So if you're at ShmooCon, but have fun, all right?
Definitely. And yeah, I wish I was at ShmooCon. Unfortunately, I was not able to go this year. Actually, I don't think I've been to any conference outside of Pittsburgh, but I will get there eventually. But today is a very important episode. Today we are talking about helping veterans, veteran spouses, and partners. So with us, our guest, our friend, Rebecca Ford. Rebecca, how's it going?
It's going great. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. And so I seen you were actually a veteran spouse yourself. So how has that influenced how you want to and how you are working towards helping veterans within the cyber community or any community for that matter?
Yeah, any community. I've been a military spouse for 23 years and a veteran spouse for one, I guess you could say, retiree. I have seen the struggles that that veterans have, whether they're transitioning out of the service or they're retiring, as far as how to translate their military work into civilian speak. There's that side of it where I've seen, helping my husband, redo his resume, make it sound like, your skills are transferable. And the same with spouses. We have to move every 2 years. There's no way around it. So it's hard to build a career when you're moving. And my goal is to help other spouses and partners kind of navigate that space and, have that career fulfillment that they want.
Yeah, definitely. And I know my wife felt that pain as we were moving around every so often. She worked as a dental assistant, and so there were different regulations in different states and things of
Mhm.
that nature. So at one point, it got to the point where she was like, you know what, I'm just not going to work. We'll live off the army salary. We'll make it work. We'll find a way to make it work. But it was basically because we were moving so often, and because of the different regulations, they were asking her to do things she wasn't comfortable with because she was never trained in it. Um, so, so yeah, definitely as a spouse, whether you're a veteran or a spouse, even if you're still active duty or your husband or wife or whatever is active duty, being in that situation is very difficult. Between daycare and just
Mhm.
the list goes on of things we can talk about with it. So to the spouses, look, to anyone who's married to a military member, my hat goes off to you. I know what my wife went through, and it is something I probably could have never dealt with. And that's just me being honest. I was gone all the time. I was very rarely home. So, hats off to all the spouses out there dealing with it. But when we're looking at transitioning, what is the biggest factor, and how are you looking to help veterans as they're getting out, or even veteran spouses as they're making that transition from active duty to permanently being at home? How can we help in that situation?
So I think a lot of it is our identities are so wrapped up in the military that when you leave that, even I did, and I wasn't even involved in spouse support groups and stuff, but I'm like, who am I besides an army wife? And what I realized was that um, so quick background real quick. I was at the DoD for about 10 years while my husband went from duty station to duty station, and I decided to take a job in the private sector. My husband was being transferred to the mainland, and guess what? nobody gives a shit about where you just came from. That applies just anybody's career versus the military. You get out as an '06 and you are, at the top of your game. No one cares in the private sector what you did. So it's how to, be humble, sit back and say, yeah, I don't really know all of this stuff about how to navigate the public sector. And a lot of it just comes from word of mouth. Hey, I know somebody that can help you with your resume. Hey, I know somebody that can help you with interview skills and how you present yourself. If you're sitting like, oh, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, that kind of puts people, a little off. So just even how your body language is can really help identify, distinguish yourself as not necessarily.
Yeah, but you can't take the army out of the boy. So even after 20 years of me being out, I still, yes, ma'am, yes, sir.
But what I have found, and correct me if I'm wrong though, so a lot of military tends to gravitate to veteran-owned companies and some of these organizations that they feel like they're gonna, it's an easy way to get a job. It's an easy way because they know me, they understand the way I think, and this, that, and the third, But then you're still stuck in that military mentality, which within the private sector isn't necessarily a great way to do certain things. And that's not all jobs, it's not all companies. No. But you see a lot of companies gravitate towards, I want to be all military or all veteran because they want to help their brothers and sisters that they fought with. But is that necessarily a good thing? Is in terms of what we're trying to do? Is it good to always work for another veteran, or should we be looking to expand our horizon and work for companies that maybe put the veteran on the back burner and become a civilian?
I think there's a lot of people that gravitate towards, the contracting world because that's what they know. But there are companies like Pepsi, Coke, Home Depot, Nike, Johnson & Johnson. There's a lot of these companies that are actively recruiting, veterans. You come to the table as a veteran or even a veteran spouse with problem-solving skills. You know how to lead. You're aware of your situational, you have situational awareness. There's all these great qualities that you can bring to a company regardless of the space. So I think it's just kind of stepping out of that, what you're comfortable with, and really having the backup of your peers and those other people that are in the community.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, what you said before about translating your military experience to how that can work in the civilian world. Because let's be honest, you don't want to put on a resume for a Fortune 500 company, I know how to kill people and blow shit up. Like, that's not really the best terminology to use for, getting a job. Whether or not it's for security, it doesn't matter. That's not what you want to put on a resume. So about translating all the skills you learned as an NCO or a senior NCO or an officer, translating that to military or to civilian terminology that they'll understand is very important. Now, with that though, do you feel that, because I'm sure in the work that you're doing and what you're trying to do in helping veterans and spouses get ways to kill you. I love you, Eric. Hey, for everybody listening on podcasts, it's 8 ways to kill you with a spoon. That is what the Marines learned and Army Rangers. But I will say, do you feel like sometimes we try to say we're better than? And this is something I've run across, where as an officer or even as a senior NCO, you feel like you deserve these executive level or senior director positions, whereas you've never worked in the field because maybe you transitioned MOSs as a senior NCO or as an officer. So you change jobs. You've only been in that particular field for, maybe a year or two or 3, whatever it is. So because of your rank, you feel like you deserve it. But the reality is maybe you need to set your sights a little bit lower. Are we setting ourselves up for failure in that way?
I think it depends on your attitude, right? If you're a cocky SOB, you're going to come in and say, I deserve to be this, this rank because I was, a senior NCO. But like you said, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to navigate. There's so much politicking and stuff. I know there is in the military too, but how to, build your brand, for example. Like I said before, you come out at a high profile position or whatever out of the military, and all of a sudden no one knows who you are. You don't have any street creds. I've told some veterans that you might have to start on the low, especially getting into cybersecurity. You may have to work in a SOC. You may have to work the help desk, and you're going to have to put your pride aside for a little bit as you gain those street creds and those and those talents and experiences.
Definitely. And one of the things so the veteran community is going to burn me for this one. But one of the things I've tried to tell veterans is you get out of the military and you get out of your transition what you put into it these days. Now, when you look back in the 90s and the 80s, of course, they didn't care about you. It was, all right, there's the door. See you later. Have fun. But nowadays, with all the things they're doing with LinkedIn and resume reviews and how to prepare yourself for the outside world, at least in the Army, and it may be station to station, but at least at Fort Riley, Kansas, where I went through, there was a lot that they gave you that I had already been doing because I knew I was getting out.
Right.
I knew being med boarded, I had known for over a year, I'm getting out. So let me prepare myself for what's to come. You have this opportunity now, though, with SFL TAP and the different organizations. So do you think a lot of the military is really holding on to that veteran status? Like, you know what? I don't care about this. I'm a veteran. I can get whatever I need. And again,
you know what, 90,
I think veterans are going to burn me for this, but I do see that a lot.
So there's a statistic I just read not that long ago that 90% of all transitioning service members use the military transition programs. Now, what has gone even further is that CISA has a program for teaching veterans how to be, cybersecurity analysts. There's so many free resources to veterans to take advantage of all those things. This is a field that can make you a decent amount of money, and it's just trying to get, your foot in the door. And by going through these trainings and, networking, it'll be a lot easier to.
Yeah, well, I will tell you from my experience, I got out March 2000. And in March 2000, we had literally, I think it was 2 weeks transition.
Yeah.
And
What?
it was literally get your medical records, turn in your TA50. That, for anybody that's listening to us, that's our equipment. Turning in your equipment, turning in your medical, making sure that you had everything else, and you were out.
Eric, let me stop you right there, because it took at least 8 appointments to CIF to turn your TA50 in. All right, let's be honest.
I still have my cleaning cloth from the, cleaning my canteens.
It was always stained. There was always something wrong. It took at least 8 appointments to get completely cleared. Yeah. So let's be honest. It wasn't just go and come back. It was
but that was it. We didn't have any career transition. I mean, we didn't even really have any resume writing or anything like that. That was like secondary. So, this is prior to, September 11, but we didn't really have anything. And so you would be let out there without any real transition. We learned from, reading books on transitioning from military to civilian life. And it's true, when a lot of folks get out of the military right now, they need to understand that they have to transition and understand what their skills and how their skills transition into the jobs of today.
So, Eric, over 200,000 service members a year leave military service.
Yeah.
That is a huge amount of people adding to the workforce, and there's no reason why we can't help those get, into our field.
Yeah. And so what I have preached, and I'm a member of a lot of Signal and Army groups on Facebook and in different areas. And what I tell them and tell a lot of people is it's all about how you present yourself. Are you on LinkedIn? Are you
Mm.
on YouTube, or do you have a blog? Do you have anything like this for you to keep learning and for people to see that growth in your capability? Because if you're not on LinkedIn or building your resume the right way of the things that you've done without revealing any information you're not supposed to,
Mhm.
if you're not doing that as you go through the military, then you're behind, and you're not building your brand. One thing the civilian sector really relies upon, especially now that social media is so popular and all this stuff's going on, is your brand, who you are. A lot of companies will Google your name or look for you on LinkedIn, and if you don't have a presence, you might get that first interview, but they're probably not calling you back because,
What's wrong with
especially,
you?
yeah, like in our field, in our industry right now, you have to be able to learn and grow and research and do all these things. And if you're not showing proof of that, how do I know you're going to do that for me?
Please don't Google me.
Look, I'm
There
not looking for your porn, Eric. I'm not looking for your porn. I don't need to see your sex tape out there.
Yeah. All right.
well, thanks for having me. I'm out. I think
I
one
did.
thing too,
A point. I didn't go there. He did. He did.
you acknowledged it. You're just as guilty. One thing I was going to also mention, security clearances. Those veterans that have security clearances, we always hold that as our golden ticket, right? Like if we move out to the private sector and decide, oh, we don't want to be there for a little bit, you have that window to go back into the DoD or the government side. And there's actually a lot of companies. My company holds my top secret clearance. Probably shouldn't have said that. Through DHS, because a lot of the work that we do affects critical infrastructure. So there's a lot of other companies too, the Twitters and the Facebooks and all of those that are, that not that you could share the information, but that's another plus for companies when you're applying for a job is sometimes they just need a butt in the seat. You got a clearance, butt in the seat.
And the other thing is depends on where you retired to or come out of the military to. Like for me, my family was in the Washington D.C. area. So when I got out of the military, I went back for couple months. I was there, and I was able to get into the D.C. rat race. So I was a consultant. I did a lot of work with the civilian agencies. They were able to use my clearance. I did a lot of work with DoD. So that's a really good way because if you were in the military, in the cyberspace, or in the signal space, you're going to get more work in the military cities, the Norfolks, the San Diego, the DC, the Rhode Island, those areas. So it's important also to look when you're transitioning, where do I want and what kind of jobs do I want to be? And even if you don't go directly government service, there's a lot of consulting companies in these areas that will hire you. And just having your clearance is it's a golden ticket.
Yeah, definitely. So Rebecca, I gotta ask, as far as the spouses out there, because it is very important. It is one of those things that, yes, there's some bad spouses, just as there's bad military members, and
Yeah.
we see it all the time, right? It goes both ways. So, as far as the spouses go, what do you feel is the best thing they can do because they don't have a clearance, they don't have
Right.
any of this, but even if they don't have this civilian world experience because they've moved a million times and just haven't been able to hold down a job, how can they transition into civilian life and start looking for this work and start looking like I'm home now. This is where I'm gonna live.
It's
Like,
hard when you're like, this is my forever home. You
yeah,
know, I think a lot of things come into play. Again, like if you're a teacher or some of these other things, Derek, that you mentioned that you need credentials for, and each state is different. There's actually some legislation that's going on to assist military spouses with changing jobs within different states. But back to your point about what what we can do is figure out what you want to be and what you want to do, and then work with a coach, work with other people in the community. Once you decide, I don't know, I've actually had maybe 20 military spouses reach out to me, wanting to know how to navigate this world. And I think building your network, which translates from military to the private sector, excuse me, but also really honing in on what you want to do. And then there's a way we can transfer your skills, even if you're a stay-at-home, parent, how
right.
those organization, timing, relationship building, all of these things that you can, again, with like the military member, the spouses can translate those experiences into real world. And again, you might have to start off at the bottom, but now you're in a stable company. And one thing that I remember when I was looking for a job, and I kept it very, very quiet because I did not want anyone to know that I was a spouse, because I'm probably only going to be here 2 years. And sometimes you just can't avoid it, right? Like, why do you have 6 different job locations? And finally I said, you know what? Do you want an amazing hard worker, dependable, reliable, go-getter for 2 years?
Yeah.
Or do you want kind of a mediocre guy for 20 years? And
Yep.
you really have to be more on the assertive side. And I think sometimes as military spouses, we kind of, shrink back into the shadow of our spouse. And now it's your turn to shine. It's time for them to support you in your career and what you want to do. Not everybody has that kind of relationship, but let them know how they can support you. Get out and build those relationships.
And I have a perfect example about that. My current deputy in my day job, she was a 20-year spouse of an officer. She finished, she came out, and then she took a job as an intern in our company. And within 4 years, she was a deputy director at that company because she had all the skills. But because of being in the military, she had large gaps of time in between her resume. Well, she came into this company, and within a year, she went from an intern to a full timer to a manager, um, to a deputy director. So she had all the skills to do that and the education, because that's the other part. When you were a military spouse, being male or female, use that time to study, to use the benefits of the spouses of the universities that are on post. And she got her master's degree in cyber, and by the time she came out, she was an intern with a master's degree in cyber. So, and she's so good that I've brought her with me to 3 other jobs. So, um, my
Well,
wife calls her my work wife. So
Uh,
there's a
def-
lot of opportunities. I'm just thinking back of where you were the leader of the family support group or whatever it is called now. Well, you have some strong leadership skills. You have some people that are under you that may not be so desirable and have the bad attitudes. Maybe you could be a program manager or project manager. If you brought up foreign language. So my husband was at the Defense Logistics Agency. No, Defense Language Institute. Sorry, too many.
DLI,
DLI.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I would talk to some of the spouses there who are, they're from Japan or they're from Korea or another country like that. And I'm like, you're the perfect person. Most major companies are global and they need translators. And these and I don't know how many were just like, what? Are you kidding? And I'm like, absolutely. So we kind of have to think about these things kind of out of the box. Like you speak 4 languages. Oh, these are translation companies and such that you can, work for.
Yeah, definitely. So we got a question here from Peter Smith. Has anyone dealt with veterans coming into the civilian workforce into a current ops SOC role and seen them burn out too quickly because they've been current ops in the military for so long? Rebecca, I'm gonna let you touch on that one first and see if you know of anything, and then of course me and Eric will take it afterwards.
So most of the veterans that I've seen come into that SOC, into a SOC or a help desk, they're so excited to be there. They're so excited to do something they haven't been doing for a long time. You know, if you've that maybe not necessarily translate if you're at Cybercom or one of those other big ones, but I haven't seen that burnout be any different than it is uh, with regular people.
Yeah. Go ahead, Eric.
You say that while I'm coughing. Okay. So
Of course.
no, I agree with Rebecca. A lot of the folks that come out of the military come with that mentality, both on the spouse side of the house and the former and the veteran. That sometimes 24-hour ops in the military are commonplace. So coming into a high up tempo organization as a SOC person or something else, they do handle that stress a little better than kind of the run of the mill non-military person. So I would say it's the opposite. They are better suited for those high op tempos. The challenge is that it's not managed the same way that it is in the military. And that, I guess, issue of management, a civilian management versus a military management, which is going back to what Derek said. Why do these veterans, gravitate to veteran organizations? Is because they feel more at home, more, you've been doing it for 10, 20 years. You feel better amongst your peers, if you will, and or companies that are, working with veterans that understand the different tempos, and we all have our own lingo, and the spouses learn that lingo, and like Rebecca said, sometimes that identity is tied to I'll call it the family rank, where you have a person being an E6, and the wife kind of gets that same rank. We call it the
Oh,
No,
you
we have
wear
no,
your husband's
my wife never wore my rank. I will say that. My wife was she knew I'm not in the military. This is not my rank. This is not where I belong. I am here to support you, but I get what you're saying, Eric. You do have those people
I was in a
that do
unit.
it.
I was in a unit that it was 20 officers and 10 enlisted.
Oh,
Okay.
damn.
My platoon leader was a 1-star general.
Oh, I know that. I know that unit. Okay. I know what unit you're talking about.
So so it was challenging, and when the spouses got together, it was there was their own rankings corrector.
Right.
So that happened a lot. But when they come out of the military as a spouse, they don't have that. They don't have that. They don't have that military structure, and it's hard for them to get into that more civilian side of the house. But some of them navigate it very, very, very well, and it's always been very interesting for me to see the military, both spouses and members, joining organizations. And for us in our organization, we love bringing in the veterans and bringing in people who have been in this industry because they have a different set of skills.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's a catch-22, right? Because the military, you're going to get two things. The first is you're going to get someone that, generally speaking, respects the chain of command. And that's been a hard thing for me to break with smaller organizations where you can go above the person. Like if you need an answer, you can talk to a founder. Like it's hard for me to be like, oh, I can talk to this guy. Oh, okay, cool. So what's going on? Um, I've always.
Let me ask you this, Derek. How did you adjust to calling people by their first name?
Oh, that was easy for me.
Okay.
So in the Air Force, Eric knows I did 2 different branches. I was in the Air National Guard for the first 6.5 years, and I was in the Army for the other 6.5. And I always referred to people as their last name. But the difference is
my wrist hurts. I need a day off.
But the difference is I never drank the Kool-Aid, right? So I never became full HUA. I wasn't airborne. I wasn't infantry. I wasn't a combat engineer. I knew my place was behind a computer screen. So for me, getting out was like, now there's a difference. I still struggle to call my old commanders by their first name. Like my buddies that have retired, and I'm getting an echo. So anybody else that's hearing echo, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's you, Eric. No, it's not you. I don't know where it's coming from now. But my commanders and stuff that have struggled over the years, or that I've worked with over the years, I'll refer to as like Matt or Seth or whatever. And when I call them and talk to them, and I say that, I'm like, that sounds so wrong. I can't. It's so wrong. I want to be like sir, or captain, whatever. But with my buddies that I had drank with and had a good time with, and we knew each other on first and last name basis, is completely different story. But my one buddy, I still refer to him as his last name. Although I think that's more so because he's hilarious and his last name is Bizzle. I think it's pronounced Bizzell, but when it's spelled Bizzle, come on, how can you not refer to somebody as Bizzle? It's an amazing name.
There's so many words you can attach to that. It's
exactly
for shizzle, my Bizzle.
Right, I've done it, man. So yeah.
Let's cut that out in post production of me trying to, never mind.
No, I'm staying there. Everybody's gonna see it and hear it. You're good. So, did your husband find it difficult, Rebecca?
So my recommendation to him was to go back to school. Make that transition a little easier when you're going to academia. It will be, granted, you have a lot of kids, right, that are, 19 and 20, and he has all experiences.
I got 8 kids.
You do not.
I have 5.
I have 0. I'm child free.
Stay that way.
7. I got 7 boys, 1 girl.
I got 5 boys. Stay that way, Rebecca. Stay kid free. Kid free is the way to be.
Who knows computers? But that's always been my recommendation. Go to school.
Yes.
You have, hopefully some of your GI Bill there, or offer it to your spouse.
Gotcha.
Let them go back to school. Let them get a degree that they weren't able to get because, moving around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got about 3 months I need to give to my wife. That way she can go for whatever the hell she wants to. It's not a full school year, but she might be able to get a tech school out of it or some shit. Who knows?
Don't let it go to waste.
Look, I told them, because I used my GI Bill when I was in the Air Force and kicker and all that. And when I got in the Army, they made me pay back into my GI Bill, which then they told me I can't use. And I was like, okay, so then give me my money back. And they said, oh, you got to use your last 3 months. And I said, for what? What the hell am I going to use 3 months for? And they were like, oh, find something. I'm like, what am I going to use 3 months for?
Pastry school?
Right? Like, maybe? Okay.
That's important to me.
That's important to my wife. She wants to learn how to bake better. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll I'll give it to her. Like, here, use these last 3 months so I can get my $1,200 back.
But it's important.
One thing I noticed too, just moving from the public to the private sector, is that you can talk back. Like if your boss says, do this, for the first year or so, I was like, okay, I'll do it. And then after a while, I'm like, why are all these people sassing back?
I
What?
still can't say no. It's still a big problem for me. I still can't say no. If my boss tells me to do something, I'm like, yes, sir. All right,
You
cool.
learn. You learn.
But no, I'm more of a, if I know how to do it, I'm gonna do it.
No is a vitamin.
I don't take that vitamin very often.
I've never heard that. I love it.
Yeah, no your vitamin.
So let me ask you this though, because you're right. You can say no. And it is something, granted, in the Army these days, I don't know anybody that's been in the Army in the past, I don't know, 5-6 years,
I
maybe
got my
longer.
stress card.
Not only do you got, well, I didn't have any stress cards, but there was a lot
you
of.
did. You were Air Force. You had
No. Don't bring that heat on me. Air Force was harder basic training than the Army. Don't get that shit twisted.
Force.
So, granted, Air Force Basic was back in 04, so it was definitely harder than Army Basic in 11. But the way I see it is like, even these days in the Army, you hear a lot of, well, why do I need to do this? Why do I need to do that? Why? What purpose does it serve? Does it matter? You know what? I'm gonna leave now. Okay, cool.
When Sergeant Major said rake those rocks, you raked those rocks.
But the problem is today you see so much of that. So that's why I struggle when I've seen how the Army is, and I got out in 2017. So when I see how the Army is, I was like, this is not the Army that I know. This is not the Army my dad came up in. This is not the Army my buddies have seen. This is completely different. So that transition for people should be a hell of a lot fucking easier right now. I'm going to be honest. It should be a hell of a lot easier because the military, I don't know about the Marines, but the Army and the Air Force is more civilian and more socially correct than it has ever been in past times. And this is why you have a lot of PTSD and you have these bigger issues that keep people from getting jobs, is because they're not trained to deal with the stress.
Yeah, those coping skills just aren't there like they were in the olden days, I guess you could say.
Look, and back in the day, the stress handling skills, and let's not discount the fact that people did come back fucked up from different deployments and things like that. That shit happens. I mean, look at Eric here. But but at the end of the day, it's gotten a lot worse because now we're not building people up. And look, I get it. This isn't a military fucking show. It's cybersecurity, but I'm gonna talk about this shit. It's mine. So as we're building people up, we're not breaking them down anymore. We're not allowed to break them down. I went through basic training in 2011 in the Army where the drill sergeant came out and said, we don't want to smoke you. We want to teach you. And we're not allowed to make you do more than 10 reps of any given exercise. And I walked up to the drill sergeant as an E5, mind you. And I said, Sergeant, am I in the right fucking place? Because this is bullshit. And he was like, that's the way it has to be now. I was like, but there's no breaking down. There's no unit cohesion. So it pissed me off, needless to say. But Eric is reminding me.
Let me redirection. And
yeah, please. Because if I get into the bullshit of the Army, I'm
come on. All right. So Peter asks again, networking the right way is a skill that we need to teach service members. It was uncomfortable at first, but it's awesome to see it work. And I'm going to take that very quickly because that's one of the things that we do with Raisa Cyber is teaching people how to accurately network. And that's very important, especially in the civilian field, is who you know and what you know and who, like Rebecca said, build your brand. That's very important. Okay, Rebecca, what do you think?
I have no comment about the kindler, gentler Army, but I do. I completely agree with Peter. It's networking is a skill, but also we have to reach out. I feel a responsibility to reach out to service members and to their families on what can I do to help. I made the transition to the private sector 4.5 years ago. And it's taken me 4 years to even build some street creds, and kind of going back to what you said, Derek, taking the time to, fill out a LinkedIn, fill out, write blogs, go to Medium, write down what you're thinking. All of those, even if you don't have the experience, that shows me that you have the aptitude, that you want to learn how to do cybersecurity, and just kind of go with that.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. And that's really what it comes down to. And I say the same thing to anybody, whether you're getting out of the military, getting out of college, or whatever you want to do. We don't know who you are based on a degree. We don't know who you are based on a diploma. We don't know who you are based on the fact that you just said, hey, my name is Steve and I know how to hack shit. Cool. Can you prove it? No. Let me work for you and I'll prove it. No, that it don't work that way. Like, I'm not going to hire you on faith. This isn't religion. We don't do shit based on faith. So if you are going to do something, if you're going to say you're in the military, please build your credentials, build who you are, build your brand as you're getting out, or even during. There's a lot of shit you can put out there while you're in the military.
We have a good friend on Twitter that is part of the Space Force, and he shout out to Cyrus out there. He's up in Florida, and he is becoming more and more part of the community. And I can't wait what he's going to do when he gets out.
There's a lot of positions too that are available in companies, and you can only get in if you know somebody.
Yeah.
If somebody doesn't vouch for you, that's how most jobs that I'm seeing in this industry are. Oh my gosh, are at least getting you to the top of the pile, so to speak, for your resume, and
Definitely.
that is what helps you. Hey, I know this person, that's looking for a position. And actually, I think I met Peter at one of the SANS conferences, or hacking pancakes, whatever, where you just put your name in. This is who I am. These are my contact information, and just kind of go from there.
And Peter introduced me to you. Peter was like, "Hey, Rebecca would love to be on your show," and I reached out to you.
Right.
That's how you got on here. So the
he vouched for me. I hope he's not too embarrassed.
No. I look. Me and Pete talk a lot on LinkedIn. He hits me up every so often. So,
I'm sorry, Pete. If you want real information, please reach out to me. My Twitter's right here. Just
bite me, asshole. but no, I do. I look at it, and networking is huge within our industry, because, and actually any industry. Let's be honest. The HR, there's Dancing Robot. Yes. The HR systems, the automated systems that are looking for keywords, key phrases, and things like that are broken. So you should not have to tailor a resume to each individual company that you're applying to.
Yeah, and that happens so much.
But we have to. It's the only way right now.
Yeah.
No, it's not. You want to know how you get around that? We just talked about it. You network, you interact, and you tell somebody, and you broadcast who the hell you are. Yeah. That's how you bypass.
There is we did a show couple months ago where we were talking about the resumes and how, yes, resumes are very important, but there's a different way to reach out to your preferred industry, either by LinkedIn. I've seen a new thing of the video resumes, be able to communicate, be on shows, be on podcasts, do things differently on Twitter, and recognize yourself on that as a good person, not as some people don't do it very well. Yep. I don't talk like you. Come on, man.
I do.
I talk like me. Over here.
I got a horrible mouth. I don't give a damn.
I'm too old, you asshole. Okay, well, next time, So there's you need to recognize yourself as an industry, where you want to be, what you want to do, and bring that up every time you're doing a job. But in my career, I've had many times that somebody says, "Oh, can you take your resume and highlight this and highlight that and highlight this?" And it's like, it's a new resume, you know? Or, reach out on LinkedIn and reach out to those people that have those jobs and say, listen, I'd really love to work with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you that for me, as, the position that I have, there's a lot of people that I've hired because they've reached out to me. And, we have a big problem with these, HR systems.
Yeah.
So let me put it this way. I put my resume in for the position that I have currently, and I got kicked out of the HR system. And I was holding the position. I just did it as a proof for the HR people.
Even you aren't qualified for your own job according to HR.
I
He's
can't
not.
be,
He's not.
you know,
He sucks. Don't let him lie to you. He's an asshole.
okay, but we tried that, and we tried that with the entire team that was there, and we put the resumes, and they didn't. But on the other hand, I qualified for a bunch of other jobs, which I was like, okay, guys, can I take those other jobs and leave mine? So
But here's the thing behind it, and here's really what it comes down to is networking. Networking is key
Mm-hmm.
because I've had people get jobs based on networking. Hell, the job I got was because I reached out to somebody and said, now I didn't only get it because of this, but it's how I got the initial interview, was because I reached out and was like, hey, look, I'm looking for work. Like, I knew the guy. We had met at a conference, and I was like, hey, I'm looking for a job. What do you have? And he was like, well, I got nothing right now. But then, I don't know, it was a couple weeks later. Hey, we're hiring for Blue Team. Go ahead and apply. And then I talked to my boss, and we hit it off. So I went through, and I did. Look, I am not a brown noser. God damn it. Eric, quit being an asshole. It's not, well, it is your day to be an asshole. It's a Friday. But so, but it came from, I show people what I know. I am here. They know I'm on social media. They know I chime in on things. They know that I know what I know. And so, unlike fuck you all, anybody that puts that hashtag up can bite.
come on, now everybody's got to put it. Okay, let's go.
Fuck you all. but they know, like your online presence means a lot. And even to this day, when we get people to come in and are like, hey, I went through this course or this course, my boss reaches out to me and was like, hey, do you know this instructor? Yeah. All right. Hey, reach out and see if they can tell you about this person. Okay, cool. And I hit them up and find out. And so it is very, very important. Your online presence means so much, because if my boss can't find you and I got to go looking, now I'm going to go ask, and I'm going to ask everybody who knows you.
So, Derek, let me ask you this question. How do you go from 0 followers to 2,000 followers? I know how I did it, but I'm interested to hear how other people, because that's the discouraging part, right? Like, nobody knows me. Nobody knows who I am. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to tweet.
Shit post on Twitter. That'll get you there real quick. Shit posting gets you there. God, bite me, Eric. Bite me.
This
God.
is a little rough. It's a little rough here today, people.
Damn, Eric. But no, honestly, it's just putting out information. So if you find a news article, put it out. If you don't have to always come up with your own, but if you comment on somebody's post and it's like, hey, I think this is really good. This is, on point to the way it is. Just somehow expressing your knowledge, that is very important, because then what happens is, if somebody follows me, let's just say, I go through and I'm like, okay, and I look at their follower account. Fight me. I got 5,000 followers, bitch. Get out of here. But if
Woo!
somebody were to follow me,
it's like a train wreck. We follow you to see what's going to happen next.
What other shit post gonna come up?
oh no, I don't shit post, but I will do shit like this and just come out and be like, hey everybody, it's me.
So, but it's very important what you guys are saying. So,
Yes.
from 0 followers is comment, engage in conversation,
Yes.
ask
100%.
questions. You know, don't be shy.
Don't be a lurker. Don't lurk.
People
Actually
love
talk.
to show you how much they know, especially in somebody like me who's just so passionate about Intel. It's like, you ask me a question, I'm like, all right, how much time you have? You know, you seek out those kind of people that are really
Yeah.
passionate and ask those questions, because people do. I want to talk about the things I know, and that way you get all that engagement.
Yeah.
And I can tell you right now, Rebecca, you, one Mr. Stoner on Twitter, and Killer Grizz, I always forget his name. If you put on KLRGRZ or something like that. I've had them both on my show, so go back and look at previous episodes after this one, of course, and you will see them. But Johnny Stoner and Killer Grizz on Twitter, they're also Intel. And so it is very important when you're talking something and when you're speaking the language of the person you're trying to engage with, they will engage with you. The problem comes in, and this is to the point of Eric of, hey, I've applied or I've done these different things or blah, blah, blah. You know, if you are not building that rapport of, hey, I really enjoyed what you posted and, you know, this is how I feel about it, and develop that rapport, that's where the networking breaks. Because if you don't do that and you just say, hey, I applied for this job and I haven't heard shit. Okay, so your point, I don't care. But if you develop the rapport of interest and personality,
That's correct.
and building a goddamn relationship with people. Look, quit hiding behind your fucking keyboards and build a relationship with people and actually talk to them as human beings. You will get so much further.
Yes,
So
definitely.
much further.
My first podcast that I ever did was based on Andy's comment about indicators are just not indicators, they're observables or deliverables.
Yeah.
And I went into a whole tirade about how I agree with him or whatever. And another podcaster asked both of us to be on the show. And I'm like, I made it. Oh, he's like an internet guru.
You know, Andy.
It's great to just what one, you know, little engagement can land you a whole bunch of other people that can vouch for your credibility.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely. And so as we're talking about veterans, that's the big thing. Get involved. Look, you don't have to break OPSEC. You don't have to break SIGINT or any of these other, you know, security rules to be involved and tell the world you know what you know. Go ahead and hide behind a handle. That's fine. Don't put your name out there. But then when you're getting out of the military as a spouse, when your spouse is getting out of the military, go ahead and say, hey, this is my handle. Go ahead and look what I've done. This is my Medium, you know, my blog. Go ahead, look what I've done. This is my YouTube channel. Look what I've done. All these different things can help you. And I will say this. When I got out, when I went through my cyber network defender course in the Army, and it was all SANS classes, it was asked, how do I know all this? How do I know what they're teaching already? Like, how do you know this? And it's because I had been doing it for years on my own. I'd spend an hour or two every night actually working on cybersecurity and perfecting my craft and everything else like that. And so had I taken that and turned it into a blog or turned it into posting what I've been learning, it would have set me up better getting out of the Army.
That's a great comment, Derek.
Than anything else. And so I ask people, fuck you, Eric. I'm gonna say it bluntly. Fuck you. I love you, homie. I do. Me hombre.
You know, my mother-in-law is listening in, so just to let you know.
Let them all listen in. This is me. This is who I am. I don't give a damn.
No, she loves it. She loves it.
But I do say that, like, if I had done these things and done what I had I tell people to do now only because now I know how the
Mhm.
world really is outside of the military. Um, you know, I would have. So I ask people, if you're in the military, please, everything you're learning that you can divulge, legally divulge,
Yeah.
please do. Please, because it gives
Well,
you a name and a brand.
Well, as military intelligence professionals, we have things that we can say, but the tactics and techniques that we use are usually the ones that are being used in the civilian world. Being able to, and that's where we started. So we've gone full circle on this show. When we started, is how do you take the skills that you learned in the military as a spouse or as a member, and how do you translate those into your current existence of being in the civilian world? So the same things that we do in military intelligence, cyber, signal corps, whatever, those things translate. We just have to make sure that we know what the civilian terms are to
Mhm.
those skills. And, while we call it intelligence gathering or core collection resource management, we can talk about, we do things like CTI or Hunt Team or something like that. And those are the translations to that. So learning that is going to be your first task as you get out of the military is, what does map reading translate in civilian life?
Mhm.
Or, that
That
was
one
an
I don't know.
elective.
I don't know how
That
you.
it's an elective
Okay,
in,
but
in
Rebecca, let
college.
me ask you this:
Okay.
do you know? And please, I ask you to email this to me too as well. Do you know of any groups, organizations, or anything like that that will help military members translate their background into civilian terminology?
100%. I don't have it right now, but I definitely have those resources on hand. To
Okay, so I ask of this of you,
Yeah.
because I will help others do the same as well, and I'm sure you would if somebody reached out to you and Eric as well. Um, as you send me those, I'll put them in the description below. So as we're live right now,
Uh-huh.
please don't try to check. But if you're watching this after the fact, down in the description, it will be
100%.
there. But yeah, I do wonder, because I'll help people try to translate that, because I've had to do the same, right? And Eric's had to do the same thing in his career. And there's so many others out there, Davin Jackson, Chris Cochran. There's so many people that have been in the military and transitioned to civilian life and had to make that translation. So if you give me those in an
Yep.
email, I'll put them in the description, please.
You could
Please do.
also, anybody out there, feel free to contact me directly too, and be happy to give a hand.
Not on LinkedIn. She never checks it. You got to do it on Twitter, or I'm not giving you her email. That's up to her.
I struggle with LinkedIn, I'm not gonna lie, but Twitter.
There's dancing grandma. Look, if you're listening on podcasts, you miss out on those so much. It's so fun.
I
But
love
dude, I do. I look at it and I question sometimes the things that we do, and then I look at resumes and how people kind of be like, "Oh, I'm an 11 Bravo. I've been infantry. I did all this." Look, God, Robin. Look, I was in the middle of a conversation. Eric
it.
puts this comment up. God damn
It's
it.
so hard to stay focused.
God, you're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me. Um, but no, it really is. It's very important to be able to make those translations, because as an NCO, you were a
Mhm.
leader of personnel. And as much as people like to say, hey, officers should be executives, officers should have done this, officers should be in these roles. Look, let's be honest. NCOs have led people too. NCOs have
Oh
led
yeah.
teams and groups and platoons and all this other stuff. So as much as officers have done the management side of things, NCOs have led people. They have
They're
actually
boots
sat
on the
there,
ground.
boots on the ground, and told people how shit needs to get done. So it's about being able to translate that into, I love that. TA50. I said,
Inventory management.
yes.
That is perfect.
But it really is. It comes down to be able to translate what you've done into civilian terms that they'll understand. And yes, any NCO that has been in that position long enough, and I'll say a year, I'll say 2-3 years, you better have leadership on your goddamn resume because you have led people. You have
100%.
actually done the job as a leader. For any officer that wants to come at me and say, "Oh, I should be an executive," please do myself and fact check yourself, because just because you were an officer doesn't mean you should be a CISO. I'm just saying. There's no guarantee you should be a CISO. Maybe a director or senior manager, but if you don't know the company you're working for, how do you fit in as a CISO? That's just me. I'm an asshole, though, and I'll take credit for that. Eric,
Yes.
can get mad all he wants.
Yes, Kev, you're always late for the party.
I love
All
you,
right.
Kev.
All right. So, as we get to the top of the hour here, let's go ahead and give Rebecca a chance to go ahead and give us some words of wisdom.
I don't know if I have real words of wisdom. I just want everyone to know that you are appreciated, you are valued, and all of the attributes that brought you success in the military. Most military members now joined during wartime, like the heat of the war. You are brave, you are confident, you are passionate, you want to serve, you want to protect, and you can bring that same passion and energy to the private sector or public sector, and just let us help you get there.
Definitely. Eric,
Exactly.
go ahead. Take us.
Exactly. So, as we're talking about veterans and veteran spouses, I also wanted everybody to do the buddy check and make sure that you are well, that there is people out here, there are people out here that talk to you, that you don't have to be alone. You don't have to do this by yourself. So, buddy check everybody and make sure that, you are set for success. So, love you guys. Thank you again for being here, and
Thank you.
let's thank Dancing Grandma for being here as well. So, Derek,
Yeah.
take it away.
Definitely. Look, hey, I want to co-sign what Eric said right quick. I've seen a lot of people on a lot of the veteran groups I'm a part of that they either know someone or one of their buddies, or they're thinking of committing suicide and all these other things we don't want to talk about. As we're signing off, I do want to touch on this. Look, if you need someone to reach out to me, reach out to Eric, reach out to one of your buddies. Any of your battle buddies should be able to pick up the phone. It is very, very vital and very important. All right. You belong here. You deserve to be here. And we will go to bat for you and actually answer.
Okay,
any
so I'm
questions
going to
you have.
actually answer Dot Robin's question. Okay, cybersecurity and cybersecurities as two different words. The short answer to this one is, in Europe they use cybersecurity, I believe, with a two, and in the U.S. they use cybersecurity together. It means the exact same thing, but it's just the way that it's done in the different, on the different pond. Infosec well, when I joined, everything was Infosec. But Infosec is security to the data, to the information of the data. Cybersecurity is a wider topic that covers the hardware, the hardware and the and other areas. So that's kind of the simple way. Cybersecurity is the field. Infosec is a part of that field.
Yeah, definitely. I'll leave it go with that. Otherwise, look, people, it's been great having you here. It is me, Cyber Warrior. We got Eric Bellardo. We've got Rebecca Ford. It's been an amazing episode. I love you all. I truly, truly do. Anybody listening on the podcast, please feel free. Go to youtube.com, find CyberWarriorStudios, and subscribe. If you haven't done so yet, also check out Eric Bellardo Cyber. He does news, information, and a bunch of other shows. Hey, you may see me as a co-host. You may. I may be a co-host on his show also. But you see it all. look, if you haven't done so yet, please also check out my Patreon for Cyber Warrior Studios. Buy me a coffee or anything like that if you want to keep the show up and running. Otherwise, take care. Have a fantastic weekend, or whatever day you're watching this. And I will see you all next time.